The Beginning, an Old Testament Journey, Episode 24. Today we're going to start a 4-part mini-series about eating the fruit. You'll see these posted here all in the same day, so feel free to work through these one at a time. There's a lot to cover, so I'm going to get started. The Garden of Eden was a state of innocence, meaning that Adam and Eve did not and could not have children. They themselves were like children, still learning what was and only was okay. And they only knew good. There were only good things in the Garden of Eden. What we soon find is that Satan, whispering through the serpent, tempts Eve and begins opposition in the Garden of Eden. Now, there's 2 significant trees in the Garden of Eden that I want to mention. The tree of knowledge of good and evil, which would bring mortality if Adam and Eve ate it, and they would die from eating that tree because they would then be mortal. And the tree of life. Here's something that I think is interesting. My thoughts are that if Satan really wanted to thwart the plan of God and the plan of happiness, he would have had Adam and Eve first eat of the fruit of the tree of life because it would make them live forever. Then have them eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because then that would have completely messed up God's plan. They would have lived in this state of sin forever, for eternity, which would have completely ruined the plan. Here's something that was also emphasized by God. This life was about agency. He didn't just emphasize this with Adam and Eve, but in the pre-existence before they came to earth and through the plan of happiness, we were to come here and have agency to choose what we wanted to do. Agency is a huge gift. It's what we're here on earth for. Here's some thoughts that I had. We experience a spiritual death when we come to earth. Adam and Eve experienced a spiritual death when they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. What have you learned from your experiences, especially the bad ones? With mortality comes opposition, good and bad, life and death. And with mortality comes also the daily act of choice. Adam and Eve had to choose a life of difficulty and struggle. Heavenly Father wasn't just going to make Adam and Eve choose to eat the fruit. Now, he commanded them, but it was not a commandment for them to not eat the fruit. So a commandment, we'll discuss this more later, maybe God would have at a later time told them it was okay for them to eat the fruit. But Adam and Eve had to choose that difficulty because this life is all about agency. God's plan of happiness would not work without agency and a life of mortality. This is where I'm going to leave you. We'll see you in part 2.